Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Inside Insights, a podcast powered by Zappi. My name is Ryan, and I am joined by two lovely guests today because we have a festive season ending episode. I'm joined by my co-host, Patricia Montestioca, and my colleague and today's guest, Kim Malcolm. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan.
How's it going?
Nice tree. I like it.
My tree is green and yours is white. And Kim has a lot of cows on her couch, and she is wearing a Christmas sweater for those of you rocking with us on YouTube. It's a beautiful thing. This is the grand finale of season 5. And it's been a hell of a season. We actually pivoted, and Kim, last minute, we put her on the spot. And I'm very excited to have you, Kim. Kim, I know you're very excited to be here.
Always.
Right?
I get to talk about Christmas. I'm always excited to talk about Christmas and advertising, especially combining them.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So today's episode, we are going to unpack a brilliant piece of work that Kim did using the Zappi platform to analyze all of the Christmas ads. For those of you who are listening in the United States, the Christmas ads to UK are essentially what the Super Bowl ads are to us here in the US. It's a big tentpole moment where advertisers get to really show out and show up with their best work. And I think it's a really relevant time to talk about these ads, given the state of the world we're in, given the state of the environment, and some of the brands that we're going to talk about today did just such a wonderful job with the tact they employed and the emotion they invoked in their advertising. So we're going to speak about that in some detail today. We will also be sharing, when we launch this episode, a link where you can actually analyze Kim's work directly. She's really good. But before we do that, let's do a little background. So Kim Malcolm, industry legend, actually somebody who I've known for a long time and have had the chance to work with for the last, how long have we worked together, Kim?
15 months. Can't believe it's been that long.
15 months. So before Kim joined us 15 months ago, which feels quick and long at the same time. If you know Kim, chances are you might have gotten asked to stay up too late to chat to her on a couch, maybe in Bulgaria. I don't know. But Kim, before Kim joined Zappi, she was a product leader at Kantar for many, many years. Kim, tell us a little bit about your background and also what led you to Zappi and some of the big things you've learned moving from a very big business to a small growing software business.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, I ended up, like most people, in research by accident. I did my degree in French, German, and Spanish. I loved culture. I loved people from different markets. I loved learning. I was always curious. And back in the old days, I'm showing my age now, the fact that I spoke French, German, and Spanish made me pretty valuable in research because we had field forces all around the world and we could translate stuff, we could make it work. So I fell into research, right? I then had a load of different roles. But across all of those roles, the passion that I seemed to land with was in advertising, right? It was really understanding consumer response, and it was really understanding the effort of a load of people, the combination of art and science to create advertising. So I absolutely loved that. I spent years working with some of the biggest advertisers, looking at their ads, advising them on how to make them better, or to be more specific, I'm not creative, right? So not how to make them better, but where they need to focus on what could make them better. How can they bring their creativity to solve for a problem that we'd identified in the data? I love doing that and evolving the portfolio to better meet customer needs. So all of that was fantastic. And no matter how many different roles I took, I was always dragged back to advertising.
I call bullshit that you're not creative, by the way. For everybody who is listening, I actually work with Kim on a day-to-day basis, and she's very, very creative. But anyways, I'm not going to let you get off with that like subtle thing here. So you joined us 15 months ago. Your first ever marketing job, if I remember correctly. You're now running a bunch of marketing for us. Talk to us about that before we get into Christmas advertisements.
Well, that is interesting. So yeah, I hadn't done a marketing role per se before, but I guess when you're in a big organization, it's weird to think that you kind of touched on lots of different things. Like if you were into advertising, you were helping the product development, you were helping enable sales, you were helping with the marketing content.
Yep.
So I was doing all sorts of that stuff in my area of passion. I think what's been really nice since I've come to Zappi is realizing how much I enjoy the marketing side of it, how much I enjoy the freedom that I can have here, where marketing can have a bigger impact in my area than what it could, when I was working within more of a box or more rules or all of those kind of things. And also I can do marketing here with more data, which I totally love. So like on this Christmas thing, I can research them all. If I want to know something about the recession, if I want to know about sustainability, I can get some data that's valuable to our customers, to our prospects, and I can do something with it. So that's really helped me from the marketing side. It's been really great.
I love it. What do you think big companies need to learn from software companies, smaller companies that can help them move faster? Think about the customers you've been helping advise advertising on for all these years.
Customers, like just staying close to them, trying to overcome all of the barriers that exist within a big business by being 100% consumer centric. There's always challenges to making change. The bigger you are, the harder it is to turn the ship. But the more that you can get everyone to focus on the customer, the more that you can really interrogate what the customer's motivations are, what's impacting them, what their needs are. I think the easier you can persuade people across different functions that everyone needs to lean in a slightly different direction, that would make it faster. I don't know how practical that suggestion is in terms of, I know there's a million reasons why big businesses don't move fast, but that's got to be a nudge in the right direction, is the alignment by really focusing on what the customer needs, right?
Absolutely. We had a conversation. Oh, go ahead, Patricia. Sorry.
No, I thought, isn't it? I mean, I was listening to you speak before and just now. Isn't it amazing that you're coming to a company that's much smaller than the companies you worked with before, yet you were very clear that now you have much more information. That concept blows my mind, because I've worked, as you know, in companies, large companies, and then small companies, and it's a different type of data. It's access to all of the data. And when you're a true data geek, that's what makes you. And I am going to, knowing you less than Ryan does, I am going to agree with his call on bullshit, because anybody who gets excited about data and is able to take pages and pages of numbers and responses and turn them into a story, sorry, you got to be creative to do that. So Kim, 2 BSs against you is 2 against 1.
I think what I'll say is, if there's one thing I've learned here, it's that creativity comes in different shapes and sizes, right? I'm quite good at problem solving creatively, taking loads of data, working out what to do with it, less than my traditional sense of creativity. Like it's a different definition, but you're right. Like everyone's creative in different ways, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I when you were talking about the traditional definition, I couldn't help but think of my little daughter. She's 7, she's 6, and she just creates things, paintings, drawings, bracelets, and I'm like, I could never do that. But creativity comes in many forms.
That's only because we've lost it. Listen, when we get to talk at the Christmas ads, we'll come and look at one of the ones that did really well, which was Lego, which absolutely is all about creativity and kids and their brilliance. Everyone's born with creativity, and it kind of goes out of you when you start judging your own creativity instead of embracing it to see what you can do.
Absolutely.
You know what my pet peeves is, Kim, before I let you go, Ryan, and I'll take advantage of the space for the soapbox. You know how when you're little, they teach you to color inside the line, right? Like mandalas and stuff like that. That's part of it. But I think that sometimes we should be allowed to draw without lines and go outside the line, so that that part of the creativity isn't lost. Sorry, that was a little soapbox. I'll get off now.
No, it's a good point. I mean, and I think it relates back to Kim's advice. If the customer is at the center, then you follow the market differently than the linear lines of, well, I think of businesses, we talked about this with Clay Parker Jones a few episodes ago, businesses that have linearity based on their supply chain or their go-to-market motion or their retail or sales partners. There's a degree of coloring inside the lines that is how they inherently make money. And so anything that is outside of those lines, even if that's in the best interest of the customer, may not work, right? And so it's an interesting thing. And then the last conversation we had with Jorge was really about, how do you make a business be customer centric? And it's freaking hard, right? Like, you have to be able to catch the CFO, the CEO, the CMO, the COO in stride, and all of those organizations with customer data, which is equally as important as OpEx and margin and EBITDA and all these other business financial metrics. And I think that's what motivates me so much about where consumer insights can go with technology to enable the voice of the consumer to exist at everybody's desktop, not just all of you people on the phone who are insights managers. I keep telling you all this, let go of your Legos, and then your businesses will change. So, Kim, let's talk about Christmas. We're going to talk about Christmas ads. I'm very excited about this. My wife thought I was weird last night when I was laying in bed watching a bunch of ads, which is what I was doing. Before we go into specifics, take us through what you did, the methodology, the approach, how many ads you evaluated, and then we'll get into some of the specifics.
But start, Kim,
sure.
please start telling us why you did it. I want people to hear where you got the idea and how you made it come to life, because sometimes people don't understand what to get ideas. You know, they're really good when you give them an idea, but how did you come up with this idea also?
Yeah, so at this time of year, and I think Ryan said it right at the beginning to help explain for the US audience why we're getting so excited over a bunch of Christmas ads, right? But in the UK, Christmas is obviously massive, and advertising's become a really huge part of it. I mean, I'm sure it always was, right? Share of wallet at that time of year must be much bigger than all of the other times of year. So it's a time where you win or you lose, you know? The Aldi story, they just won an effectiveness award. They do great advertising. We'll come on to talk about it. But, you know, their key analysis was that they were starting to like gain share and do quite well at different parts of the year. But at Christmas, what was happening was people want to, you know, treat the family to things that were special, and they weren't getting their fair share of wallet because people were moving from Aldi, that was seen as being less luxury and less something that you had pride in serving to people, over to other brands, right? If you lose your share of market at that time of year, you're losing a lot, right? Because that's when people spend. So first of all, it's critical to win. So advertising is really, really critical. But I think we'd have to give credit to John Lewis for starting the whole trend out, right? You know, 17 years, would you believe? 17 years ago, they put their first Christmas ad out of there. You know, highly emotive, just incredible work over the years, some years better, some years worse, incredible work. But they started the tradition of really doing great advertising that you either won or you lost with, right? So when we were thinking about why we should provide data at this time of year, it's because it's a time of year where it really matters to be creative and effective and hit the mood of the nation to succeed as a business. And it's a time we can learn loads from, right? So let's not pretend I'm not in marketing now. Of course, I wanted to do this to provide data at a time of year when people were interested in it. I wanted to tap into the mood of my customers who wanted to understand it. But more than that, this data should be a really brilliant data set in learning a lot about how to create effective advertising and giving the rest of the creators, people who work in agencies, people who work in marketing, people who work in insights, things that they can use over the rest of the year to think about what great looks like, the different ways that different brands do it, at the time of year when you know that all of those brands have put their best foot forward, because they absolutely do, and they have to.
Yeah, and I think your why makes sense, particularly given the times we're in, where the codification of a good Christmas ad and potentially what is a tense time in people's households will cascade when it's not a holiday. Think about, and I'll let you talk about the attributes that drove performance, but the things that resonate with consumers when perhaps the bank account's a little tighter, even though it's a festive period. They'll work in April too. They'll work in May and June and everything else. Yes, I like your why, and yeah, it helps to also show people we able to test everything quickly.
And there's
how
something
many ads
about the
did you test?
mood. There's something about the mood as well, right? You know, you said, you know, it's a difficult time of year, like the mood that people are in this year. There's recession, there's inflation, and you know, the UK's one of the countries suffering most, right? Like things are really bad, you know, and so that, you know, it was really important that brands did well. I think the really nice thing this year, to answer your question, we researched 40 of the first ads that came out.
Wow.
And do you know what's incredible? They were bloody brilliant this year, right? We looked at them last year, and it was the end of COVID, and you know, there was a few good ones. There's always a few good ones. But this year, ad after ad, literally they were like releasing them like one day and we'd research it. The next day, 5 came out. I'm waiting for one to bomb. They absolutely didn't, right? They did really well. They were all brilliant. The other thing that I could do using the Zappi platform was I could go in there and build an average. So you've got your country average, right? I can see what a normal ad looks like at a normal time of the year. Then I can go into the platform and I can create a Christmas average, right? So, and I can immediately see the Christmas average is way higher than the normal average, right? Which is brilliant, because it means all those advertisers have put their best foot forward at the time of year that it matters most. And that's really, really great to see, obviously, for them. It's also really lovely to see that they're way better than last year. You know, there's been a lot of learning. They've managed to get it right. I think there was a load of lessons learned from advertising during COVID as well, that people have probably applied. It's like bad news after bad news after bad news. So do you want to remind people that they feel shit? Or do you want to give them hope for the future and make them feel good?
Right.
And I think that's what they've done well this year.
Yeah, I remember the token COVID ads that would be like, you could put any freaking company's logo on the same damn ad, and it was like, in times like these, you know, the same like dry times like these, we need to be together. So I'm glad that brands woke up to it. So that's pretty cool, and I'm pleased to hear that they stepped their game up. So take me through some of the thematics, like why were the ads better component wise, and then we can get into. I know all three of us are excited to talk about some specific ads, but what are some of the themes of why they're good, and what drove the performance, and some of the metrics that the attributes are associated with?
So I did have a think about this. I mean, you'll have seen in some of the content that I've written, but I guess when you look across them, there was probably 5 key themes. The first one I've already touched on, right? Understand the mood. Don't be tone deaf to what's going on, but don't mirror it. Okay. Like I said, people feel shit enough already. They don't need you to tell them that they feel shit. So don't mirror the mood. Understand it. Don't be tone deaf to it, but make people feel good, right? The role of advertising as well, it is to entertain. It is a bit of escapism. So give people hope, allow them to feel good, allow them to feel the joy. And I don't know, I mean, as I go through these 5 points, I can probably pepper them with examples if that would bring it to life a bit.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I guess there's maybe two contrasting examples here. So Tesco was in our top 10 ads, really big supermarket in the UK. And their ad was all about joy, stand for joy. And it was like a political campaign around really, you know, what are the rules of Christmas and bringing joy forward, right? And it just struck a chord beautifully. They talked about the fact that they could help facilitate that joy. They talked about the deals that they'd put on that meant that people could feel proud, welcome people into their house, celebrate with people, feel that connection that's so important at Christmas, and still achieve that in an affordable way. So it gave hope, it gave joy, it allowed them to focus on the things they could do rather than the things that they couldn't do. And it worked really, really well. So I think that's a really great example. There was one, and I hate to talk about the bad examples. No one wants to talk about
No, we need to learn from failure too. So let's pick some scabs.
And listen, hey, failure's going far too far. The sad thing is, you know, the devil's in the detail in the execution, right? There was this really nice ad from a company called Very. And it was really nice. There's a really strong insight behind it. It talked about all the different days of Christmas. So when you're at the Christmas party from work and how and how you're behaving, when you're with the family, when you're with your kids, the Christmas day, the bloody noise on Boxing Day when they're playing with all the crappy gifts that someone bought who doesn't have kids and shouldn't have had that noise in the house. There's all of those different days.
Don't buy slime for my kids, grandparents. If
don't do it.
Stop with the goddamn slime.
Oh my God, I'll never forget the dream.
And nothing with glitter, please.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Let's codify that next Christmas. What do consumers not want their grandparents to buy their children? Glitter and slime.
Oh God, glitter and slime, please.
So the insight was there, right? The execution was there. But the small bit of where they ended the ad was all about how you pay for this, right? And people are hypersensitized. People are scared of getting in debt. People are scared of the whole nation getting in debt. People are scared of the consequence in January. And even just talking about the fact that you could buy now, or you could buy now, pay later, or you could spread it over 3 months, right? I was really shocked when I looked into the platform and looked into the responses. That's a small part of a big ad. And yet when you looked at it, it was a bit that really turned people off. They got really upset about it. You reminded them of the financial problems. And, in some ways you were seen as a bit irresponsible in how you were asking people to respond. So what could have been a really great execution, unfortunately, had that little twist or turn that didn't quite work for people. And that small number of seconds took up way more of their mental space and memories of the ad than that small piece should have done. So I think that's a nice example too.
I saw some ads on that also focused on the similar things. I think it's not TJ Maxx in the UK, it's TK Maxx.
Yes.
TK Maxx, right? And then there was another one on Walmart that also talked about the same thing, about not that it's okay to look for the deal. It's okay to look for, that's not the point. The point is not that. The point is sharing and caring. The point is all about being with your family. The point is, the positive aspects of whatever holiday you celebrate, no matter what holiday it is, whatever religion people practice. It's the core element is about sharing and caring with friends and family, right? And so it focused on have the same joy, which I really liked. Because it was all in the past. I've seen too much about spend, gift us, if that was the most important thing, where it's not anymore. People are much more conscious about it.
That's where Christmas comes into it, right? Christmas really is about nostalgia and connecting and being with friends. So that was actually like a really nice segue, because the second point was all about that. Tap into what Christmas means to people, right? And what's really lovely, Ryan, you mentioned the topic, it's like difficult times, right? But the one thing that people can't take away from you, even in difficult times, is that love and connection and joy that a human gives to another human, especially humans who are close and love each other very much.
Right.
So I think that's a really, really important one. And there was a couple of really nice examples of that human connection as well that came through well. So Disney followed on.
I was teary on that ad. What a beautiful ad.
Did it? Yeah. And your kids as well would be like, you would that would resonate with you, especially with but that ad, like, I mean, we could talk about what happened in it, or we could talk about how you feel, but like fundamentally my interpretation of it was just, here is a really loving, caring family where everyone supports everyone else, where everyone wants to bring joy to everyone else, and there's some change happening, and change is difficult, and there's the youngest child in the house is getting on edge and getting nervous because there's a new younger sibling about to arrive, right? But what was beautiful in it was that human connection throughout, the support of the parents, the support of the sibling, to be able to give that love and patience so that the younger, so that they could accept the younger sibling. And then that beautiful resolving moment when the youngest sibling, that's no longer the youngest anymore, takes all that love that was given to them and is able to give that to the new baby in the family, and is able to take on that role and that connectedness. I don't know, it's a beautiful story of connection.
Oh, God, yes.
And really in our data, the journey was there. Like, it was a perfect example of getting you really involved with the characters, the story, the sympathy that people were feeling for that young girl who was about to welcome a younger sibling into the house, and the sheer joy and happiness and love that resolved itself at the end of that story arc was, it was a lovely one, really nice.
And having 3 kids, both Ryan and I, we understand there are 2 things that really marked me with that campaign, right? One is more emotional and the other one's more rational. Let's do the rational one first. The fact that they were able to take, because I went back and I looked at the rest of the campaign to see what they did with it. They have employed it, and we haven't tested that yet, but they have employed the story so well in little snippets throughout the rest of their campaign in such a beautiful way. We get to see, how sometimes it's a really good commercial, you want to know what happens next and what happened to the family and how did the kid grow up. So it does that. On the emotional side, and I think, I don't know if you have kids or not, Kim, but Ryan, I love the fact that the parents messed up a little bit, and so they hurt the girl, right? And so the fact that this caused a conversation in the house, it felt so real to me. I felt so seen, so connected, that they know that unintentionally parents do the wrong thing, but we can resolve it. So I loved it. It just touched me.
I thought it was beautiful. And I have, by the way, I've got 2 boys, so I haven't quite managed to roll for 3 like the parents do, but I've got my hands full with 2, and yeah.
I just hope my 3rd kid never listens to this podcast, because then he'll think I didn't want him. He was a bit of an accident, but we do love Cal Barry. He's a great addition to the family.
Yeah, an accident that was always meant to be. That's how
Yeah,
they
that's
are.
right.
Exactly.
There's
Of my
there's an
three, yep.
interesting thing. There's an interesting thing about all the ads to me. So the ad that went wrong reminded us subtly, without meaning to, of how shit the times are. So good advertising, people can see it, they can feel it, and then obviously everybody who advertises, they wanted to do something about it. So that's what good advertising does. It evokes emotion. All these ads, and by the way, some of them were cartoons, some of them were animated,
Huh.
some of them were real life. But what I thought that they did really well, I'm talking about the top 10, Kim. They replicated real moments that made and some of them, for me, I only know they were real because I'd go to England a lot. Some of them were very culturally relevant, like just the little bits on the overground rail on some of the ads and everything. But they reminded you of the good times of togetherness without, it was almost like 30 seconds of escape from, fuck, I got a big credit card
Yep.
bill, or, oh my gosh, the grocery bill is $300. And I think for businesses, that's an interesting way to connect with humans, even in a tense time, is to remind them of the good. I say this to my wife all the time. We were as happy when we were broke, living paycheck to paycheck in a small apartment in Watertown because of that dynamic, right? And so I think those ads all did that to me. It was a really interesting theme as I watched through them, even though the delivery, the execution was so different.
I think that's really right. And like one of the other points is going to make, that the role of advertising really is to make you feel good. Yeah. Because partly because it's escapism, and partly because, do you know what? If the ad does nothing else, if it makes you feel good and it triggers the brand at the same time as you're feeling good, then that positivity rubs off on the brand and it makes you more likely to choose it into the future. It's all about the functional messaging. Like emotion is the very most critical thing, because emotion gains attention. You pay attention to things that make you feel something, and emotion rubs off on the brand, so long as you've given the brand a role, and therefore it does both jobs, right? So make you feel something. But I like your observation. My interesting categorization was two types of making you feel something. There's making you feel something like deep down, making me go on a journey, making me cry, making me like really feel something. And we talked about Disney doing that. I think there's two others that did that beautifully this year. One was Amazon. Did you watch the Amazon one?
Great ad.
Yes.
Great ad. So I guess for anyone who hasn't watched it, just there's this girl, she's obsessed with her snow globe. They take great care, look after it everywhere they go, won't let go of it. And the connection between the dad and the daughter, he just wants to make her really happy. And he does what dads do, right? Make it bigger and better. So he goes off to make a snow globe the size of his shed. And obviously he uses Amazon to order a paper shredder, which is the role of Amazon to make that moment. But right. It's wonderful. You feel that deep down when you realize what he's doing for the love of his daughter, and when you see her face and the magic light up in her face when she's, in the, I don't know, her greenhouse shed. It's incredible. So that's a feeling deep down. John Lewis do that brilliantly every year, and they did it again this year. So if you watch the John Lewis ad, there's a guy who's learning to skateboard, and he keeps falling off and he keeps struggling and he's hurt his leg. And you wonder what he's doing. And then at the end, you see a girl, Emily, I think her name was. She arrives at the door and she's going to be their foster child. And she's a skater, right? And he has just spent the last month, 2 months, who knows how long it's gone on for, trying to learn how to ride a skateboard. Why? So that he can help this foster child who needs to feel welcomed in, who needs to feel like they have some connection, something in common. And he's gone all out of his way just for her. That emotional journey with all, I mean, people were literally describing word for word exactly what happened in great detail. They were articulating that they'd been on an emotional roller coaster, that they'd been crying, but it resolved itself with happiness. We have like a little moment by moment reaction. And at the moment when there's the reveal and she comes to the door and it's obvious why he's been learning to skateboard, it jumps up like strong likes by like 15%. Like I can really feel that deep down, there's that connection, there's that moment of surprise. And you know what? Even when that moment of surprise is gone, you watch it for the second time, it's a story that keeps on giving, because instead of being surprised,
Yes.
you watch the reaction in the girl's face and you feel it all over again, even though you knew it was going to happen. You know, the devil in the detail. So, sorry, I've gone on for a long time on that, but that's the feeling deep down. The other half of the ads, you still feel something, but it's much more light-hearted feeling. Like humor is a really big part of the ads that were there. There's humor in, did you see the one for Barber with Paddington Bear? That plays on his character. There's funny moments. There's him trying to stick a doorknob back on with some marmalade, like some very Paddington moments, even though, again, that has a very emotional storyline, of course, where he's trying to make someone in his community feel like they have a connection and be a part of Christmas. And then there's like the Aldi one, right? Absolutely hilarious. So it's a play off Home Alone. It's Kevin Carrot. He's just like a regular, he's a carrot, but he's a regular person representing the normal man who's trying to make everything, or normal person trying to make everything great for Christmas, and all the trials and tribulations and the humor in there, right? You know, I think I just peed myself at one bit. And then what was the bit where you probably saw it, where Kevin Carrot flies in and it says that he's turned himself into the nose, but I think we all know that he's not flown to be a nose at all. He's somewhere else on the snowman. It's like, it's really funny. You know, all of those little moments are highly entertaining and they make you laugh. So all of what these have in common is characters that you can get involved with, characters that you feel like you're a part of carrying the outcome for what happens. They have storylines that take you on a journey, but they do it in a really different way, light-hearted humor, or just deep down, like, I've got all the feels here. And I think that's interesting as well.
Absolutely. All right. So
You know what
oh, go ahead, Patricia. Go ahead.
No, one of the things I really liked is that each of the ads that really succeeded did so in their own unique manner. I mean, Aldi was focusing on food, and that was what's made it real. And I mean, that's one of the things that makes it okay, makes it even better. It's like the layers, and as you said, the devil's in the detail. This is not such a small detail. This is a big one, because if a bank had done the carrot, right, it may not have been as successful, because it's all about food, right? I like it when the manufacturers realize that they have to be true to themselves, as well as the season, as well as the consumers, as well as everything, right? Because I mean, you have to have the feels are sometimes good feels or sometimes anxious feels, right? We have research that shows that one of the things that parents are most anxious about is saying no to their kids, especially at Christmas, right? They want to give them everything. Like, that's why the dad wanted to do it bigger and better. And so the ads that tap into that are really special. McDonald's did it well too. With I don't know if you guys saw that ad, the McDonald's ad. Did you see that one, Ryan?
No, which one was it?
They're a family, mom, dad, son, right? And he realizes that there's a thing called the list, so that you can write a list so that Santa knows what you want. And so he starts creating the list, and the mom and me started getting anxiety, right? Because the list went on and then on and on. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I mean, what are the parents going to do? And how are they going to resolve this? And the list was just one of those things that just wrapped around. And then he asks, how are we going to get this to Santa? And then the wind comes and blows away the list. And part of me thought, are they going to say that now it went to Santa? Or are they? So the mom, you could see sometimes she's smiling and sometimes she's thinking, oh my God, this list. And then he's only left in his hand, right? Spoiler alert, with a piece of paper that shows the family, which was his first wish on the list.
That's sweet.
And then and they happen to lose a list in front of McDonald's, so the three of them go to McDonald's. But it's all about anxiety and resolution in a positive way. So McDonald's is something that's affordable, you can still have a good time. So I thought that's when they did well, when they joined all three.
Do you know what you've just reminded me of? This goes back a few years, but you know how I said John Lewis had done it brilliantly for all these years? They had an ad, and because I'm getting old and they've been going for 17 years, I'm going to tell you it was 5 years ago. It was probably 15 or something. But they had one of their ads where it was all about the anticipation of Christmas. It was all about this kid feeling the anticipation. They were counting down the days, and you were thinking, oh, here's this kid, you can't wait to get all of his presents. The twist, this kid had been counting down the days to Christmas because they were desperate to give the present that they'd chosen to their parents. It was so lovely. And it's just reminding me when you said the big long list, but the idea that they're desperate to
I
give
love
as
it.
well. It was really, really nice.
But Patricia,
Beautiful.
you say something really important that I think it's worth unpacking a bit. So the brands need to know where they can authentically enter into a conversation.
Exactly.
And that takes a brand manager and an insights team understanding their brand DNA and being consistent with not just things like
Yes.
assets, which is all the buzzwords today are, more distinctive brand assets, but like authentically, what is your voice, and can you have a conversation in a brand, and like can you as a brand enter into that conversation? And I mean, a lot of bad PR happens from brands entering into conversations they have no business being in, and I think it's a function of as we talked about earlier in the season with Mark Ritson, turning the lens around and saying, what is this whole market? How am I perceived in everybody's life? And how can I enter in? And I thought one of the Christmas ads that did that really well was Morrison's. And they authentically brought the farmer into the advertisement, which clearly was aligned with their brand persona. And it probably wouldn't have played the same way if Marks and Spencer tried to do it. But I think it's a really important lesson for brands to not try to be in somewhere that they don't belong without earning it, because consumers today more than ever call bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's belonging and executing in a way that's authentic for your brand as well.
Good point.
And I think that's what they did
Excellent.
really well this year. You just mentioned the Morrison's ad with Farmer Christmas. Like, it was authentic for them because their supermarket is about supporting, British farming and local provenance and all of those things, right? But it's not just that authenticity, it's how they then delivered it. Like, the character of Farmer Christmas is very in keeping with the kind of values and personality of a Morrison's brand. You may not have seen it, but Waitrose is a really high-end supermarket, also in the UK. And they did their ad, and it was around provenance as well as food. And it was all around, again, like Farmer Christmas from Morrison. It was all about the effort that you go through to create the perfect food that then gets sold. But the way that they did it was totally different. They don't have all of the lights and the jazz and the festive farmer jogging along on his tractor. They did it the Waitrose way. And this is the point. Like, there's ways of creating great advertising, but authenticity is at the heart of it, and knowing your brand, its personality, its values, and doing it in the right way. And M&S is another great example of that. The people love, like, absolutely love M&S food at the best of times, but M&S Christmas food, wow. And they know that, right? That they had this beautiful story, and at some point in that story, which was very humorous and everything else, they like showed a beautiful spread of food on this table. Do you know what? And this will surprise you. That was the piece of the ad that drove the highest likes, the highest love. People absolutely loved thinking about how they were going to enjoy that beautiful spread and the anticipation that came from that with M&S, right? So, understanding that that's part of your brand and part of its brand values, and showing it in that way is hugely powerful.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Okay, so I want to ask you a hard business question now. All of these ads made us feel something. They all did it and delivered it authentically, and they focused on togetherness. And oftentimes, businesses conflate sales and marketing. Marketing is not sales, everybody. So let me not kid myself. However, the point of advertising is oftentimes conflicted because you're trying to build your brand and drive sales. So I wanted to ask you a question, because I want to contrast the supermarket ads. There was no promotion, product shot, or even call to action in the Aldi ad, and I thought it was the best ad, personally. Partly because I watch Home Alone around this time of year, and I thought it was fucking brilliant. Their competitors all had a CTA, whether it was a promotion, a thing that they were trying to sell, some reason to get you in there. Now, let's be real. Both Aldi and the rest of the supermarkets want you to go through their door this holiday season. Let's not kid ourselves. They all executed emotion well. Talk to me about the purchase intent differences from some of the ads. And in this time of year, Kim, did you notice Aldi have a higher or lower purchase intent than somebody who happened to have a CTA? And just unpack that a little bit for me, because let's be honest, they all did well for their brands this holiday season. But what do you project in terms of
Yes.
short-term sales as a result of it?
Honestly, particularly the type of ads that these were, you know, and a lot of them have been featured in big programs on TV, right? That they're not meant to be driving that immediate response. And it's super interesting to me, even that you point out that they had a CTA. I would say that if they did, and I'm sure they did, because you watched them in detail, that's not what people talked about. It's not what they noticed, and it wasn't a part of the ad. Just because you show something doesn't mean it's part of the memories, right? That said,
And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was tacky. Like one of them showed, it was this really emotive ad, and they showed a pie or something, and I'm like, get that fucking pie for 4 pounds out of here. It was literally my reaction as I was watching it. Sorry, go on.
But reminding people of the food that's available for their Christmas in the way that M&S did when they had that beautiful spread of food. They did that also in the Aldi one, right? They had the table with Kevin Carrot at the end. They all came together. So there was a role for reminding you of the beautiful wares that were there, or the provenance of what they were selling, or whatever. Listen, the most important thing for this time of year, and actually throughout the whole year, right, is that you create something engaging that actually gets people attention, that makes them feel something, and that you trigger the brand very clearly as having a role in that. And if you do those two things, you'll get the sales, right? We don't need to always believe that. I think there's a load of data out there. If you create brand building advertising, it can also create short-term effects. If you create short-term activation only advertising, there's a strong chance it won't build your brand for the longer term.
Yeah.
And some of these ads are supported, right? Amazon's a really great example. I don't know if you saw, it wasn't really in our data. They had a Black Friday ad. Did you see it? Possibly not. They had a Black Friday ad with
I hate Black
Yeti.
Friday so much that I just turned it all off in my brain.
So this one was quite cool, right? They've got their brand building ad running, and then they've got this they've got a Yeti like dancing in the snow.
Oh, I did see this.
Amazon bot.
You've seen it. It was a good ad.
Right. Well, what's really good is it was clearly an activation ad. It was talking about the percentage discounts that they've got. So, but they did it in quite an engaging way. And what was super interesting with that one is recognizing that it's more of an activation ad. I decided to chuck it into our solution to look at how it worked on Facebook, right? I mean, the kind of promo ads that you would want to see, you would see on Facebook when you were scrolling through, or on Insta, or wherever you spend your time. And it did really brilliantly there, because people are so used to such dreadful buy me now, buy me now, buy me now, that actually in that context it was hugely engaging, and the most emotive ad that you could get there, that made you feel something as you watched him dance. And the movement of the Yeti in the snow, even if you didn't turn the audio on, which of course most people don't as they scroll through on Facebook, it still has a really good effect. So a lot of these ads are complemented. If you take like the Buddy the Elf one, if you take M&S, they've got loads of activation around it. They've got loads of things happening, you know, in store. They've got other creative units in other places. The TV ad is the big feature and cornerstone. It doesn't need to have a big CTA. Like, it's obvious what you're meant to do with it. And people, you know, are happy just to be entertained, feel good about the brand, know what brand it is. And then, you know what, you've got some mental availability. You're more likely to be the one chosen when you go shopping. That's what advertising does.
You said something that triggered a memory, and something I thought that I wanted to ask you about. Depending on the medium, right? Sometimes there's audio and sometimes there's not. One of the things I noticed is that almost all of the ads, you could watch it, and the acting and the directing and the whole entire mini movie was so well done that you could tell what was happening from their faces. If there's music, if there's chatting, it would add to it. But I noticed that a lot, and that's something that makes them be able to play it on different mediums. Did you see that trend across everything?
No, not across everything. And some of these stories, well, first of all, some of the stories were very long, and they created shorter versions. And what for me was really powerful, often the 1 minute version, so still not 20 seconds that you might want for like social media or whatever, but some of the 1 minute versions were way better than the 2.5 minute ones. Because do you know what they'd managed to do was tell the entire story in a captivating way, without all of the bits that most people didn't need to see, you know, and actually would probably get them a really good bang for buck, right? So you've got it, the ad needs to be the right length, obviously, for the story that you need to tell. Some of them needed audio, some of them don't. For me, like, some of the ones we've talked about, Disney, Amazon, John Lewis. Yeah, there was no words. The music, though, helped take you on the journey. I think they would have been lacking without their music. I think it played
I
an
think
important
so.
role.
Yeah.
Music
All right.
really does play a good role.
Ladies, I got time for one more question with you two. Your favorite ad of the Christmas set that Kim tested. Patricia, you go first. And tell me why quickly.
The Lego one. My soon-to-be son-in-law, shout out to Fernando, works at Lego, and the whole entire thing just made me happy. Watching the kids play, listening to Katy Perry sing, watching, creativity. I'm learning to do Lego, relearning to do Lego myself. The whole thing just touched me. Although, very close second was Coke, because I just got a soft spot in my heart for the trucks and the lights and the music and the ching, ching, ching. I mean, Fernando wins, so Lego wins, but Coke was a really, really close second.
It's a good one. And Coke's such a good reminder of staying consistent with what works. There's all this data that's come out recently. There isn't this message burnout thing is kind of bullshit. Those trucks, that Santa Claus or Budweiser, those Clydesdales, you see them and you go, I'm about to open some happiness. I want a beer. I mean, it's tried and true. All right, good one. Kim, how about you?
Can I just say before that, in times of recession, look back in your basement and check that you haven't got some gold sat there, which is all of your ads that you took off air after 8 weeks that were still bloody brilliant and better than anything that you could create today. So make the most of that. I was also potentially going to choose, sorry, I was also going to look at choosing Lego for a different reason. I'm going to tell you that, and then I'm going to be naughty and choose my favorite ad. But the Lego one,
That's okay.
Do you not think it's the most creative and effective product demo you could ever have? I mean, effectively, it's a bloody product demo, right? But it's a brilliant one. It just shows exactly how their product works to bring to life the imaginations, the teamwork, the creativity of the kids. And then the magic, which is so important at Christmas, when they see their creation being a real thing they can ride on. It's absolutely brilliant. But I'm just going to talk about M&S.
Sorry, one more thing. What an excellent use of celebrity dollars. So often, brands are spending way too much goddamn money to put a token celebrity in. She was brilliant in that ad. And it was integrated into the magic of the whole thing. I thought they did an excellent job.
It was.
All right, now since you cheated, what was your actual favorite ad?
Well, I'm just going to choose the one I'd give credit to. I'm going to give credit this year to M&S, right? Because what's something super important to me? Fresh consistency. What Aldi have done really well is taking the same consistent Kevin the Carrot, but make him highly versatile so that he can perform in all these different scenarios, right? John Lewis have done a brilliant job, but they change every year and it means it's a bit up and down. I'm going to give credit to M&S because they brought back the fairy played by Dawn French, who everyone loves, or should I say, probably generationally right for the kinds of, probably who the people who are shopping in M&S, probably brings back really great memories for them. They first of all introduced Dawn French as the fairy with their little magic dust alongside Percy Pig last year. This year, they've used her again, but they let her bring to life her comedy partner, who was, who was basically a dog's toy, who came to life and escaped the dog, and there was loads of magic. So they've tapped into the magic of Christmas using the same asset again. They've got loads of potential, right? If last year's ad was good and this year's ad's even a little bit better, let's give them credit for where they could go next year as they carry on this idea of magic with Dawn French, with the fairy, where it's just immediately M&S and has the ability to demonstrate their amazing food. I just think it was a really good combo.
Absolutely.
Oh, these are good reasons. Okay. I'm torn between which one's my favorite.
Go for it.
Well, I had three. Lego, Aldi, and Disney were my top three. All of them made me feel something. I'm going to choose Disney, but I do want to give Aldi a shout out because Aldi, if I wasn't a father of 3 kids and a husband, it would be Aldi because Aldi spoke to me as a kid who grew up watching all those Home Alone movies. And I'm like, so I guarantee you, Aldi, if you're listening, I'll be in London the third week of January, and I will be shopping at Aldi over the other supermarkets as a result. It's going to happen subconsciously. I'm just going to find an Aldi and walk in and get my coconut water or whatever else I get when I go to London. My favorite ad was Disney, because it reminded me once again of how special the brand is in my family. And it was funny. I watched the ad, and my son's actually ill at the moment, and I was putting on Disney Plus today, and I remember the freaking ad when I was putting it on for him. These are wonderful ads. It's a testament to good creative. And I have to tell everybody, you shouldn't only do good creative around Christmas. These principles that Kim and Patricia have codified for you, they work all year, folks. It's just good advertising that speaks to consumers. Kim, I appreciate you doing this. I can't wait till you do it next year. And hopefully we can do it for the Super Bowl too, because that would be fun.
Did we do
Our
it for
dear
FIFA?
listener,
Yeah.
FIFA, no, I didn't do FIFA. We didn't have time, and it's a can of worms I don't want to open today because of well, it's a polarizing topic, the World Cup, and so I will just leave it there. And I don't have any consumer data, but it's a sticky one for brands to put behind. So I'll leave FIFA there, but maybe when they choose to go and behave differently, we'll do it. We'll do that again.
Can I say Aldi cleverly did their little bit there? I don't know if you saw, they did their teaser, which was also incredible. And it was a play on, was it the Nike one where they were going through the airport? Like it was a real, like all of these
I didn't see
football players kicking it in the air. Well, Aldi did a takeoff of that old ad of all of the different players like doing keepy uppies through the airport. And they did that. And it was like, and it finished with them sat on a plane realizing that Kevin wasn't there. And it was the Home Alone scene where it went, Kevin! And then a couple of days later, they introduced their big ad, which is the one we've been talking about. But they very cleverly tapped into the fact that football doesn't collide with Christmas ever. And it has this year, and they felt it couldn't be ignored. So they did something really clever with it without getting into any of the politics. They just had that as a little teaser. Just lovely.
Smart.
Anyway.
Smart way to get involved without having to step in shit, right?
Exactly that.
Oh gosh, I really enjoyed this conversation, and we're gonna do this again next year. To all of our listeners, thank you. We got our Spotify Wrapped link last night. It was pretty cool. We grew the podcast by a lot this year. The engagement is incredible. If you or somebody you know is doing something great to drive customer-centric growth, we want to talk to you. So please get at us. Kim, I'm so glad I finally got you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me for that topic, especially.
Yeah, this was fun. Really good
Excellent.
work. And when we post this episode, we will make sure that you all have access to Kim's data so you can learn how you can make your brand as popular as these brands did over Christmas all year round. Happy holidays, everybody. I hope that you get to spend time with your loved ones and that you grip each other close. It's going to be a beautiful time to spend together. Patricia, thank you for a great season 5. Kim, talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.